Hey, Lionel, can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hey, how are you, sir?
Oh my God, it's been a crazy couple of weeks, Mr. Eli.
Well, I'm glad that you're able to join us, and you're clear on the public comment, right? How to operate that, right? When we call it out, just to give it
Yeah, I think it's similar to neighborhood council.
exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Hey, Karen. Hey, Taylor. Hey, Jennifer.
Hey, Eli.
Just
Hey,
letting you
Karen.
all know that we are recording. It should have given you a notice, but I just want to make sure I say that out loud because sometimes people don't see the notice.
Hi, Eli. I was trying to get on. Have you been on for a while?
No, just now.
Eli's been here since about 4.
Yeah, actually, it was on a different Zoom call, but not on this account. So
I figured. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's been a full day. Hey, Kevin Burton.
Michael.
That sounds like Michael Schneider's house.
Yeah. Not Eli's house.
No, that's probably
Not
my little.
Karen's house.
Pure chaos.
Hey, Michael, I'm going to ride my bike to LAX on Thursday. Tell me where you leave it.
Terminal 6, right at the entrance to the parking garage of Terminal 6, is the only covered bike parking.
Oh, okay. I'm only going to be gone a week, but I think it's better to leave it covered.
Yeah, I've been gone a week and everything's fine. I've had a bike light stolen once, but that's it.
Yeah, I'll take my bike lights off because I'm coming home at night. But
Did you see my Medium article on the route?
I have seen yes, I did. And I need to look at it again because I need to kind of figure out exactly the route I'm going to take.
I'll send you a Strava.
Yeah. I haven't used it in a long time, but yes, I do have it, but I haven't used it in a long time.
I'll send you a Strava thing that you can just hit play and it'll
Good.
tell you.
Thanks. This is my first time riding to the airport, Michael.
It's great. It's less than an hour from where we live.
Yeah.
Makes me happy.
I keep wanting to do that, and then I end up with flights that are leaving so early in the morning or getting back so late at night. I don't want to do it in the dark. One of these days.
I just skip Iona Creek if I come back in the dark.
Yeah.
Like I just take Jefferson or something else. It's too shady.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rode my bike to the airport years ago. I didn't know there was bike parking in some of the structures in the central terminal area, so I left it at a clunker bike out at the C lot. They have some bike racks there.
How did that work?
Well, it was there when I got back. I mean, it was, like I said, a junker bike, a ladies model that's not very attractive, but it got me to the airport because I live pretty close.
Send it to you, Taylor.
Thanks, Michael. My phone's charging, so I'll look at it in a minute. But
We need 2 more for quorum.
The other thing I'd like to see is Metro Bike, so that you could just take a Metro Bike and leave it at the airport and not have to worry about your own bike.
That'll probably exist once they open the airport station of the Crenshaw line. My guess is they're building a big bike hub there. I'm probably still going to go into the central terminal area because I don't want to deal with waiting for the people mover, but I think that is part of the bike hub.
Cool.
Well, I don't know if anybody,
Reno, wow.
I got a new computer, so my camera ought to look a little better.
You look 10 years younger, Kent.
Corino, yeah, welcome, man. Long time.
Thanks.
Eli, I don't know if you saw my note. I have an additional motion I'd like to introduce for the item regarding the 6th Street Viaduct.
I did see it. Thanks for sending. And so, yeah, let's. I think we have time to. Is that the same motion? It's just a new draft of what you already put in, right? Or is it something totally different?
It's an additional motion to the one that's in the minutes. I mean, in the agenda. It's not.
I see. I mean, I don't have a problem with it if we have time. Is there a reason why we couldn't just move ahead?
That we couldn't what?
That we couldn't review it and vote on it, right? We can.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I'll share my screen with it and you can look it
I
over.
found out today that because the 6th Street Viaduct goes over a freeway, it's considered part of the highway in terms of the design manual, which is honestly the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
So does that mean that Caltrans will still sort of operate it, like manage it, or?
No, it just means that from a design point of view, 12-foot wide lanes, demand for a shoulder has to have a shoulder, that kind of stuff. It's because highways have to have those things. And because it goes over a highway, it has to have those things. And I think it's like one of the most idiotic policies I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the sort of thing that needs to change.
It's a Caltrans policy.
We have quorum.
Thanks. So let's get started because we had more than quorum, right? Because we just had. I see Glenn just joined and Philip also. Do we know if Curtis is going to join now that he's officially?
I just called. He's going to join at 7.
Okay, our enforcer. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate you you pushing like that. Great. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for making the time as always. We have a pretty full agenda tonight. There's a lot going on. So let's just first do our, I guess, our roll call. So I'm just going to start at the top with the mayoral appointees. Henny,
I'm here.
are you here? Thank you. Glenn, Bailey.
I'm here competing
With horses.
horses and LA. It's National Night Out, so that's what I'm at.
Oh,
Oh, right. Awesome. Well, thanks for making the time. You're beautifully lit somehow in spite of being wherever you are. Great. Karen, I saw you earlier as well.
Here, Karen Kennedy, mayoral appointee.
Thanks. I'm here as well. Moving on to our council district committee members. Jennifer Gill.
CD1, vice chair of the LABAC.
Thanks. Welcome. CD2 is still vacant, correct? I didn't get any updates on that.
That's right.
Okay, great. CD3, Janice. I think I saw you in here as well.
I'm
Janice,
here. Yes, I'm here.
hope you're feeling better. I'm also
Thanks.
recovering, so I hope you're
You
feeling
too.
better. Curtis, not here yet. CD5, Taylor.
Here.
And we'll go to the alternates once we get through it. Welcome back, Carino.
Carino de la Cuesta, CD6, Nuri Martinez.
Thank you. CD7, John, are you here? Oh, we've got a new call in. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can bring them in. Call-in user 1, can you please identify yourself? Okay, we have an unidentified person. Maybe it's one of us, but one of the committee members. Let's keep on going. CD7, CD8, Aubrey, are you here? No, see Aubrey. CD9, Philip?
Philip, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, CD9, Ade. I skipped down. Sorry, CD9, Ade. Not here. CD10 is vacant. CD11, hello, Kent.
Presente.
Thanks for being here. CD12, Mike. Nope. CD13, now we're with Philip. Hello, Philip.
Yes, I'm here. But I'm on a train, so my internet reception may be spotty.
Thank you. Moving on to CD14 is vacant, right, Jennifer? Yep, okay. CD15, John Jones II. Moving on to our alternates, Tyler Lambert Perkins from CD4. Are you here, Tyler? Nope.
Excuse me, 1 second. Mike and John Lowy are jumping in. They got the time mixed up.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna call a couple more people.
Okay, thanks. Michael, our alternate for CD5. Hello, hello. Rob, is Rob here? Rob should be here. Huh. And
Rob is on National Night Out. He excused himself.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so we have quorum, and so the next step, and we also have some visitors that I'd like to welcome, but we'll introduce those folks in a little bit. I'm just going to try again one more time. Call in user 1. Can you please identify yourself?
They might have to push some sort of code.
Also, guys, they don't have to identify themselves, so let's just.
Yeah.
They don't? Okay.
Brown Act.
Let's move on. Thanks, Michael. So now we need to move to the approval of the minutes. Did anyone have any questions or concerns around the minutes that were shared from June 7th? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from Tuesday, June 7th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thanks, Ken. Do we have a second?
And Jennifer.
And Jennifer makes the second. Great. I'm sorry, Ken, you're taking our notes, right? I just want to make sure you're on.
Yep, I am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So now I'm just going to read this next section is our public comment on non-agenda items. As you know, if you've been to our meetings in the past, public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker at the discretion of the presiding officer. I guess that's me. Per the State Brown Act, brief clarifying questions by members are allowed. Discussion is not. So again, if folks want to create more of a discussion, we might need to take those things to committee. Oh, sorry, we need to vote on the minutes. I'm sorry, I moved too fast. I apologize. We do. So we have a second. So now we need to cast the vote. Are you all ready? Here we go with this process. And I guess we're gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way, right? That's what we've decided. So let's do that. I'm going to gallery view. If you can just raise your hand and keep it extended if you are voting in favor of approving the minutes, we'd appreciate you holding your hand up. So we have Kent, Karina, we can't hear or see you, Karen, Taylor, Jennifer, Glenn, Janice, and Henny, and myself.
I raised my hand.
Okay, we can't see you. Great, thanks. That's you, Karina, right? Just to confirm?
Yep.
He's got the hand thing up on his screen.
I see, thank you. So, Philip, I see, are you abstaining or are you, do you have a comment? All against? Any abstentions? Okay. Great. So can we just add to the record that the minutes from June have been approved by the committee?
Duly noted, 1100, I believe.
With one abstention.
With one abstention.
Chat.
Who?
Philip.
Philip.
Philip is stuck. He's not. He hasn't. He had his hand up and now he's stuck.
He put in the comments abstain.
Oh, now he's back. Okay.
Okay, great. So one abstention. Great. So now we're going to move to public comment. Is that right? Sorry, this is my second time through this, so thank you for your patience, everyone. We have a couple visitors today, and I'd like to open up the floor for public comment. Again, we're gonna max this out to 2 minutes. Committee members can ask clarifying questions. Oh, here comes Mike. But otherwise, we will kind of keep these relatively short. So, Lionel, please introduce yourself. You actually reached out to us earlier this week, and you've attended some recent events. So it's nice to see you again, Lionel. If you would like to make some public comment, this is your moment. But please introduce yourself first, where you hail from, all that good stuff.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eli. My name is Lionel Mares. I am a resident of Sun Valley, California. I lived here my entire life. I've attended public school here and graduate school at Cal State Northridge. And I'm here because I like to, I'm a bicyclist also. I may not be as a professional as many of you are, but I'm starting to ride more and more often. And where I live in Council District 6, Sun Valley, some of the roads are not really safe. And over the past couple of months, I've been asking the city and my council member, Nuri Martinez, to install more bicycle safety barriers to protect bicyclists, to minimize collisions between motorists and bicyclists, and also they're finishing the bike path on San Fernando Road that began in San Fernando through Pacoima and through Sun Valley, but it's not yet complete. It's stalled and Sun Valley by Tuxford, so they're still not finished and pulling the asphalt on to complete the bike path to connect Burbank to San Fernando and Silmar. So it's still new, but it's taken a while for them to complete. And I was wondering if, as an advisory board, as a collective, you could maybe push the city. I think it's under the city's jurisdiction. I'm not sure, to finish the bike path, or like have a voice. So yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you, Eli, and thank you, everyone.
Lionel, could you just repeat quickly what route you were recommending? What road?
The bike path that I just mentioned.
Yes.
It's right now on parallel on San Fernando Road.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it's supposed to connect to Burbank. So it goes parallel on by the near train tracks.
Right.
So
thank you.
Eli, can you hear me?
I can.
Since Lionel is on CD6, and I'm part of CD6, maybe me and him could communicate after the meeting. I could share my email, and maybe we could consider him as an alternate for CD6.
That sounds great. Actually, I was emailing with Lionel earlier today, and so happy to make that connection. I wanted to make sure that I didn't speak for you, though. So if you would be willing to put your email in the chat for Lionel to reach out, let me know if you want me to be a part of that conversation, or if you guys want to just do that offline with each other. So just let me know.
I mean, we could first talk offline and discuss what is because I mean, since we represent both areas, we could put two heads together and try to figure things out.
That sounds great. So if you could just share your email to Lionel. Lionel, thank you for showing up tonight. And then sort of to keep things moving, if you can just give your email, Karina, that would be great. Let's move on. Is there anyone else who'd like to make public comment? Kevin Burton, I see you're here and your mic is unmuted. So do you have something to share?
Thank you, Eli. I'm Kevin Burton, co-founder of the West Hollywood Bicycle Coalition. And I just want to invite everybody, spread the news, that there is going to be a Meet the Hollywood Ciclavia in Los Angeles and West Hollywood on Sunday, August the 21st. And it's quite a long route. It'll run from Virgil and Hollywood Boulevard, up Hollywood Boulevard, bordering both CD4 and CD13 until Normandy Avenue. So that's about 0.8 miles. Then heading west through CD13, West Hollywood's neighbor, to Highland Avenue, down to Highland Avenue to Santa Monica Boulevard, west on Santa Monica Boulevard, into West Hollywood, all the way to San Vicente Boulevard in the heart of West Hollywood. So this ciclavia was run one time before the pandemic, and it was one of the most well-attended ciclavias ever. We expect that to happen again. A lot of interesting places to see on some popular roads without traffic. So again, I'll invite everyone to attend, and please spread the word. Thank you.
Come on.
Thanks, Kevin. And I put into the chat Ciclavia event sort of I guess the event page. So if you want to check it out, it's in the chat. And because Kevin is too modest, he's also not sharing that the West Hollywood Bicycle Coalition will be there as a chapter hosting a booth. So you'll be able to say hi to Kevin if you do show up to that Ciclavia. Make sure you stop by Kevin Burton's booth and say hello. And in case you're not aware of the West Hollywood Bicycle Coalition, here's a link to their website as well. Any other folks want to provide public comment who are not part of the committee? This is your chance to share if you have something that you'd like to share or comment on.
I would just like to urge everybody who's not speaking to mute themselves when they're not talking, please. We're getting background noises.
So Eli, my hand is up to give brief clarifying comments or response to Lionel.
Sure. Go for it. Thank you, Glenn.
Okay, thanks. The San Fernando Road bicycle path has been in the works for many years, probably decades. It started off with phase 1 in the Sylmar area and then moved south for phase 2. And I think we're now at the phase 3. I actually thought it would have been done by now, but that's something that can be agendized, because we have had it on our agenda in the past in the bikeways or planning subcommittee. So that could be agendized for an upcoming meeting, get an update from the city DOT staff. And then just to clarify, the appointments for the alternates as well as for the full BAC is done by the respective council member. That's not an appointment the BAC makes. Just want to clarify that because there was a comment made. So for Lionel and anyone else, if that's when you proceed, contact your respective council office and seek that through them. Seek the appointment through them. Thanks.
Thank you, Glenn. I just wanted Lionel to also speak with Carino. Carino knows how to do this. He got us some other people on our committee, so Carino will, I'm sure, will guide him well. Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other comments about our public comment or any other public comment? Doesn't seem like there is. I would like to move on, if that's okay. Okay, great. So let's move on to a note that we received from a couple of our members to actually confirm our subcommittee memberships. It's in the agenda if you're following along. We really need to make sure that we have balance in our two subcommittees. We currently have a joint subcommittee. That's the Bikeways Engineering and Planning Subcommittee, and then there's the Advocacy and Education Subcommittee, and we need to make sure that we have enough attendance on both with voting members. And so if we can sort of do this quickly, I know we've tried this exercise in the past. I'm thinking the best way we do this is to, if Kent, if you can kind of keep record as we go through this, let's make sure that everyone sort of lists the committees that they currently are serving on. So I'm just going to go around and call on you and just unmute yourself at that moment. And then Kent, are you ready to capture this? I think this is the most efficient way. So I'm going to start with you. Oh, Jennifer just dipped out. Glenn, what committees do you sit on?
So I'm respectfully don't think this is the way to do it because we voted to designate who's on what committees. And I think that, you know, if we make changes, then we should do that. I am on the Bikeways subcommittee and the planning subcommittee, but I don't need to be on both. I can stay on Bikeways and step down from the planning subcommittee to make room for someone else if necessary. Because I think we're approaching the 9, we may have 8. So anyway, to answer your question, I'm on planning and Bikeways.
Okay, thank you. Kent? Oh, you're muted.
I'm also on planning and bikeways, both of those committees, subcommittees.
Okay. John, Larry?
Yeah, I'm on the Bikeways Committee and Planning Committee. And I think I should probably step down from the Education, that's what's called the Education Committee, because I'm not very involved with them to begin with.
Okay. Karen?
I know we did this recently and I can't remember. I have attended both advocacy and education meetings and the Bikeways meeting. I don't know if I'm a voting member of both or just one of them. I'm flexible, but I have interest in both of those.
Okay, thank you. Taylor?
I'm on Bikeways Committee.
Great. And Michael, I know you're on Bikeways as well. Or are you also wanting to join in the education advocacy?
I'm good where I am.
Okay. Henny? You're our chair, right?
Yes, I'm on the advocacy and education.
Great. Philip, can you hear us again? I don't know if he can hear us, so I'm going to move on. Janice?
I'm still not able to join either of the subcommittees at this time. More about that down the road.
Yep. Thank you for reminding us of that. Carino, now that you're back.
Education and advocacy. Been on the board for a while. The committee, I mean.
Great. Thank you. Mike Kramer. Sorry, Mike. Sorry, I said the wrong last name. Mike, can you share your committees?
Are you talking about me, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm on. It's okay. I'm on advocacy and education.
Great. And then I think the last person is John.
You didn't call me.
Oh, we did try to, but yeah. Philip, which committees do you serve on?
Said my name, but I couldn't. You know, in other words, if you say it like twice, I might be able to hear it because, you know, words get garbled because of the internet connection.
Sure.
So in other words, I just heard, you know, blank. I didn't hear my name.
So you serve on the Bikeways Committee, correct?
I believe I'm on the planning committee, but it seems as though the two committees should be combined because they only meet together.
Right. I agree.
Okay.
Well,
and then
if I could just speak to that, by charter, we have two committees and functionally we meet as one committee and it seems to be working. I suggest we just leave it the way it is. And if you are on one or the other, you're essentially on both in terms of the meeting attendance. So it seems to be working. There's so much overlap in the subject areas between the two that it is actually a good idea that they meet together in a combined meeting. So that's my 2 cents. I don't think we need to take an action to revise the structure. That's my suggestion anyhow. And Mike Snyder, which of the 2 committees did you want to be assigned to?
Talking to me, Ken?
Yeah,
I'll stay where I am on your committee.
which is planning.
Whatever, I don't even know what committee it's officially called, but the committee that I'm currently on, I'd like to stay on.
Yeah.
May I clarify? I agree. I understand what Philip is trying to say. And we do have one name, and it's called the Joint Planning and Bikeway Engineering Subcommittee. So it's kind of one name now.
That's just how we title our meetings. It's not the, official designation for purposes of the charter that we operate under, though.
So, okay.
So I think it sounds like we have we don't have balance, right? That most people are on the planning and bikeways committee. So I think that we need to take some action to create more balance, to provide more participation in the advocacy and education. Sorry that Rob's not here this evening to support that notion with Henny, but I think maybe what we'll do is we will do some outreach as a committee and see if we can get some folks to consider working with that committee so we have enough members. Because right now our membership is low, which was just proven out by this conversation. So I want to make sure that there's an understanding that we need to create balance, and that we'll take next steps to figure out how to get folks onto that advocacy and education committee. Glenn or Kent, did you have any other comments about this rebalancing that needs to take place, or does that kind of cover it?
Just a couple. First of all, I think there's some additional names on the official roster, so I think that needs to be compared and just see who you're missing, and then just go from there, because yeah, it does affect quorum if somebody is officially a member but doesn't show up, and also it would make room for somebody else. So that's number one. Number two, this is about the membership of the committees, the actual discussion regarding the structure of the committees. That would need to be a separate agenda discussion, whatever. But just to clarify, they are 2 separate subcommittees. Maybe we got lazy in the way that they're described, but it is a joint meeting because there are 2 subcommittees, and it should say, joint meeting of the bikeways. I think it's bikeways engineering subcommittee and the planning subcommittee. It's 2 different subcommittees. So that's the way it should appear. And my last comment is to stick so that we can keep track of these things better. And I know Kent and Jennifer did this, but let's make sure that the agenda for each of the subcommittee meetings, just as this BAC meeting has, it lists the current members on each of those agendas, because that indicates who is eligible to vote. Other people may show up, but that way you'll know who is eligible to vote. There was an issue at the last meeting of the joint subcommittee, and that would help avoid that problem, because then everyone sees, okay, we've got a quorum based on this membership, and this is who can vote, and you're good to go. And then lastly, sorry, I thought that was last, but one more. At a future meeting, we should probably have a conversation about if we wanted to possibly, I know we're not there yet, not quite, possibly provide for alternate members on the subcommittee. So once we reach 9 regular voting members, we may be able to then designate additional names who could then be an alternate in case one of those 9 are absent. But it has to be 1-for-1 replacement. So, but that's for the future. I just want to throw that out since we're discussing it. Thank you.
If you want, Eli, I can read off the committee members for the Bikeways Engineering and the Planning Subcommittees from the minutes of our last meeting. These were the folks who said they wanted to be on these respective committees at about 3 of our meetings ago when we made notes on that.
I think it's okay. I think maybe if you just email that to me, I'll ask the same for Rob, and then we can figure out the rebalancing and the structure that needs to be decided. But yeah, I think we just wanted to do a quick check-in based on what happened, I guess, at the last the Bikeways meeting. And as general practice, let's make sure that we take that note from Glenn, that we always list the committee members who have the voting members in our agendas moving forward as an important note. And so we will do that. Any other thoughts on this bit of housekeeping? Okay, thank you for taking the time on that, and I will follow up with you, Kent, and with Rob and Henny and Jennifer on next step for this rebalancing that needs to happen. Because there's a lot of great new energy on the Advocacy and Education Committee, which you'll hear about from Henny in a little bit. So we want to make sure there's some balance. Moving on to any city department staff reports, Metro County or Caltrans. I'm aware that there was a number of city department folks who came to the Planning and Bikeways Committee subcommittee meeting. So maybe we'll leave those updates from when that happens. I did not get any response to come show up at this evening meeting when I did my outreach. So I'm seeing nobody from those agencies showing up tonight, unfortunately. But let's wait for, I guess, the update from the Planning and the Bikeways Committee. The other thing I want to sort of mention, item 6, is that we have this LABAC.committee Gmail. This is a way for us to streamline communication so we don't have to put everybody's emails and kind of go through that whole process. If you have not signed up as a committee member for this email address, please reach out to Henny with the email address you'd like to be included in that email list. And that way you'll be getting notifications that are happening around the BAC moving forward. So just a reminder if you haven't done that already. Any questions or comments about that email address that's meant for everyone?
Eli?
Yeah, hi, Jennifer.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we could just have a hands up right now for the people who are on it. Kent, you're on it?
Oh, yeah.
Henny's on it. Michael's on it. Michael, Taylor, Janice, are you on it? The email address, the combined email address?
Yes.
And John Flowey, are you getting it?
No, I'm not. I'd like to get it.
Okay, would you contact Henny then? John?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and Mike Kaiser? He's gone. Okay, well, I'll call Mike. I know Glenn's on it. Okay.
I'm on it.
Oh,
I'm
and
on it.
Karen. Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay, Mike and Karen, you're on it, right? Yeah, okay. And Carino, are you on it?
I'm not sure, but I'll send an email to Henny to see if I'm
Awesome.
in it.
Thank you.
Great. Let's move on. And again, if you're not speaking, please put yourself on mute. To Kent's point. So again, we are going to, just as an update, Rob is going to be reaching out to the LAPD bicycle working group or LAPD to get someone to show up to one of our meetings in advocacy and education. It's a daytime meeting, and it seems like it's a best fit for that instinct. So so we will be reaching out via that committee because they've just not been here for so long. Another update that the Medical Safety Advisory Committee meets the first and third Wednesdays, in case you're looking to see updates from Metro on how they're managing safety on their trains and buses, just as a heads up. And I think we're ready for our 9th item on the agenda, which is our subcommittee reports and motions. So Henny, I guess I'm turning this over to you to give an update based on our meeting from last week.
So we held our meeting last week on Tuesday. It was delayed, so we apologize for that. We had some issues with Zoom, but that's been figured out. At our last meeting, we had Charlie Hope from the LADOT attend and give us a report that they're currently working on the Venice Boulevard Safety and Engineering Subcommittee, and they're going to be sharing information. They're going to be holding small stakeholder groups meetings to discuss with people things that we want to see differently that are happening on Venice Boulevard. At the moment, they're only going to do very specific outreach to individuals or groups that they're aware of in the neighborhood. Whoever has their, can you go? Sorry. Whoever has their thing, can they mute it? Sorry, I just can't hear.
John Lau, you need to mute yourself. Thank you.
So if there are any suggestions or any specific groups that they could outreach to that anybody on this committee might know, definitely reach out to Charlie, or you could forward it to us and we can forward that to him. Other updates that he mentioned that in terms of their staffing, they had mentioned they were very busy at the moment. Unfortunately, they're running very short on staffing, so a lot of things are getting delayed. But we're hopefully getting another report from him at the next meeting. And a few things that they've also wanted to collect is in terms of education, because there's a bit of a misunderstanding within LADOT on like the different types of bike lanes that exist, or the different types of bike names that you give for lanes, paths, and unfortunately, a lot of engineers get that confused. So that's something that, maybe we can also help with kind of differentiating what a bike path is, what a bike lane is, bike trail. So we'll get a document started just to share with him on that. And also other things that we can also help with developing a list of common acronyms and concept used in like the active transportation community to help like educate and orient like our committee members to our work. So very great updates from Charlie. Other updates that we had in our meeting, we were able to discuss more further on the retreat agenda. That is still ongoing. At the moment, it's looking pretty solid. Obviously, next steps would be, if you haven't looked at the agenda, it is listed on the retreat agenda is listed on the meeting agenda. Please click it, and I think you're able to add in your notes or edits in there, or please send Rob any edits or updates you want to add in there. The next step would be dates, and at the moment I understand, and Glenn, you can confirm that we're technically not allowed to meet in person, but maybe some dates in the future, if anybody has any in mind, would be helpful, because that should be the next step going forward. And I know Rob has offered his place as the meeting location.
I can confirm we're waiting for city council to allow boards and commissions, and that would include us, to be able to meet in person right now. That would have to be a notice Brown acted meeting, even though it's retreat. And so we're not allowed to do it in person yet. So stay tuned.
Okay. Just briefly interject, Curtis is trying, oh, Curtis got it, never mind.
Is there a question? Okay. Okay, so yeah, and then we're also looking at, in terms of our meeting, actually it being more of a 3/4 of a day meeting. So instead of it 5 hours, we're hoping like 3/4 of a day to kind of really go over the things we want to do. We feel that that would probably help us, get together, actually give the time for ourselves to discuss whatever we need to on the agenda, get to know each other, have a good time, maybe even hold a post-social event, business-like. But of course, those are some of the ideas that we're looking at. If you're interested in providing any more feedback on the retreat and planning, we're holding most of this in our advocacy and education meeting. So please join us at the next one next month, just so we can get more input. Maybe there's some other things that we're missing on the agenda. It is a very ambitious agenda at the moment, but we're hoping to cover the majority of that in our check-ins. And a lot of it includes just kind of like reviewing, the Brown Act and any other things that apply to us as committee members, reestablishing our relationships with our council members, our elected officials, and so forth. And last, and then the manual that Rob has been working on is continued. There are edits and additions that are being continued and added on there. Please visit the link and add any feedback that you may have. That would always be helpful. And then lastly, we discussed a bit about the chop shop ordinance that is actually going into effect next week on Tuesday. We had concerns that the ordinance unfairly targets people of color, doesn't really reduce much of bicycle theft in general. And so maybe, and I understand LACBC is working on a document for to address effective ways to kind of deter bike theft, which is helpful for our committee to discuss more in length in terms of like education and advocacy. If that is something that, you know, the feeling safe tends to be the issue, maybe that's something that we can also help and address. But any comments, any notes, any research that's been done, we'd love to kind of just get that information and use that as ammo or of sort to kind of bring it to the city council. But at the moment, we're looking at that. The ordinance is taking place on August 8th. So that does, can't read it in detail at the moment, but if you want more information, you can go ahead and look at it on the council files that's on the agenda. And that is all. Oh, and lastly, we're going to be making some edits. The website, our agenda, we understand that obviously we live in Los Angeles and we have a diverse audience, and a lot of folks either read Spanish or, you know, whatever that may be. So we're going to start looking at possibly translating our agenda into Spanish as well. I know we got a contact from, I believe, Eli in order to get somebody who can help us translate the material. Anybody else on the committee that speaks Spanish, you know, we can start doing this slowly at the moment, but we want to start broadening that in terms of just hitting a bigger audience and making sure that that is accessible to a lot of folks. And we know that opens doors for, you know, other situations, is just as Glenn mentioned, like our meetings being accessible, being ADA compliant, this would be the same, that it's accessible to anybody that needs it. And maybe that's something we can discuss further with our council members if we have people that hard of hearing, we need a sign translator of sorts. So we want to be able to start compiling that information now. And that's those are our updates from our subcommittee meeting. It was well attended. And we would love to see more folks join our committee, and that would be great.
Thanks, Henny. I see one hand raised by Glenn. If you have some questions or comments, this is the moment.
Thank you. Yeah, I saw on the agenda with regards to other levels of government legislation. And just know that under the city charter, everyone in the city is obligated. The only people who are authorized to set the policy of the city with regards to the legislation is the city council with the approval of the mayor. So even so, there may be council motions, or there may be ones we want to get council motions on state legislation or other levels of government. Just know we have to work through that process. As far as the specific council motion, I know I wasn't there. I hear all the discussion, unfortunately, but just know that I sometimes feel like I'm waging a one-person battle on the seriousness of bicycle theft, and I'm getting not sure how to say this, but you know, I'm not, when I'm speaking on this issue, you know, I have to make it clear is that I'm not saying that the people who are doing bicycle repair on the sidewalks, public property, which is what this is focused on, are not necessarily the people who maybe are doing the theft. It could be that they're receiving stolen property, not knowing it. Maybe they're finding it because they're, you know, looking around, maybe they got abandoned. But I just know, as someone who's lived in LA all my life, I've had 8 bicycles stolen. The only one that was recovered was the one that because I went around the neighborhood and found it and I stole it back, and they were all registered. So my concern is that ability to be able to, when you see 30 bicycles in one place that's not a brick and mortar business, are they in fact a business, a true business, you know what I mean, who maybe should have a business license or whatever? Or because if a substantial number of the stolen bicycles end up in these sorts of places, that would allow, by having an ordinance which we do have, of course, as you indicated, is going to affect, that would allow probable cause for law enforcement to run the serial numbers and possibly to identify if bicycles are stolen. So that's the part of the message that I'm not getting from the bicycle advocacy folks. Maybe I'm missing something, and if it comes from BAC, great. If it comes from the LACBC, great. But I don't think there's enough voices there from the perspective of cyclists, from the cyclist side of things, and to balance out the sides of legitimate concerns about it being punitive to homeless people, et cetera. So I just hope if it's going to come through this subcommittee, I would encourage you to do so as soon as possible, and also maybe liaison with the folks who will be enforcing this new ordinance and maybe give us feedback in terms of how it's going. Speaking of the police, sorry, there they are. So that we can get some feedback to see how it's going. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Glenn. So Lionel, I can see that you have your hand raised, but unfortunately, as a non-committee member, this is not a place where you can make public comment. But definitely try to get on the committee. So again, I'm happy to talk to you about the rules and regulations. So thank you for understanding that at this point. So I guess the next hand I see raised is from Jennifer.
Hi, I think Philip was just before me, actually.
Okay, if you don't mind stepping back, then Philip, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad I can speak while I have internet, but it seems like there's a couple of that I see competing narratives about what the effect of regulating bicycle chop shops would be, and I'm wondering if there is any data that would support one narrative or the other in terms of are these these businesses primarily trading in stolen goods, and also what is the value added of this piece of legislation that we're describing in terms of either being appropriate response to a climate of people stealing bikes with impunity, or is it that this is a legitimate way? In other words, these bikes are actually coming from people salvaging bikes or whatever. So I mean, is there any data? Because it's like it isn't like they couldn't have enforced against these sidewalk merchants before this. So in other words, there have been any data about what the nature of this enterprise? My question.
I think we got almost all of your comment, Philip, before you start to fade out there. But I think the gist of what you were asking was: is there any data that supports this ordinance, the way that's being, the way it's been designed? But I'm going to stand back. I have a couple things to share, but I'll wait till Jennifer speaks. Jennifer, you're up.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everybody that I did do a motion regarding sidewalks and the unhoused or underhoused people, and it passed unanimously in our BAC. So, and it seems that that's the issue, is the sidewalks are being used and impeding pedestrians and bicyclists from from traveling along the route. So I don't see it as an attack on people. I see it as it's public, domain that's being used improperly. So I just wanted to say that, and we did agree with that in our BAC.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. So just LACBC is putting together a research document to see what other cities have done to reduce bicycle theft and what different types of interventions have been successful. Long Beach passed a similar kind of sweep ordinance a little less than a year ago. So we're waiting to get data back to see if that's been successful. The general understanding that I'm getting is that it hasn't reduced bicycle theft at all in Long Beach, this similar sort of approach. So, we're advocating for infrastructure. We need more bicycle parking. We need more secure parking. We need more bicycle racks. And the reason why it was this committee was we need to also educate people about how to properly lock their bikes. Unfortunately, petty theft is on the rise with inflation and everything that's going on. So we feel it's our obligation to help educate and make people aware of how to keep their property safe, and focus on what kinds of things we can do as cyclists. But also, the city needs to just build more infrastructure that would provide secure parking. That's upstream of what this ordinance does, which essentially, if there's a minimum of 3 bikes that are on the side of the road in some form of repair, this ordinance would allow police to ask for proof of ownership, either through registration or some sort of, proof of ownership. It's unclear. It's pretty broadly written. I'm not sure how many of us ride around with proof of ownership on our bikes, but there's just some problems with the ordinance in terms of its lack of specificity. And so, again, our tack is, what are some other interventions? How can we use this as an opportunity to encourage better bike infrastructure, to create safer spaces for cyclists to park their bikes? What other kinds of education programs are possible to help support people locking their bikes correctly? Because we don't want to boil the ocean. This is a much bigger issue than just whether or not there's enough infrastructure or why people are ripping off bikes. It's related to much bigger systemic issues, obviously, that need to be addressed. So I will have that. I'll have that ready for the next subcommittee meeting with the education advocacy group, and we can review that and see if we want to bring it to the whole board and take a look at it. But it is going into effect. So if you happen to be broken down with a group of cyclists starting on August 8th, and someone could, police could roll up and make sure that property is indeed yours. So just be aware. I guess that would be the one last note I'd share on that. Any other thoughts or feedback on the report that Henny provided for advocacy and education?
Taylor has his hands up.
Oh, hey, Taylor, go for it.
Hey, Eli, I'm sorry. I just didn't understand. I didn't hear properly. Did you say that the report from Long Beach so far has or has not confirmed that the law change has had an effect on bicycle theft?
Has not, but we don't have like a data-driven report. We're just getting sort of like basic testimonial from folks that we know from our Walk Bike Long Beach chapter.
Great, thank you. I just didn't hear that aspect. Thank you.
Got it. Yeah. So is there a better intervention that doesn't even put folks that have been historically or disproportionately targeted by police? Is there another way of making sure that we both secure our property, but also don't inadvertently have an undue effect on the underhoused? So that's the question. So any other thoughts or questions or clarifications on that piece? And thank you everyone for the rich discussion. I think this is stuff that's important for us to think about and consider as a committee, because these decisions are being made, and we need to figure out how to support the needs of cyclists in all of this. Okay. Oh, hi, Kent, go for it.
Just wondering if in response to your suggestion and Phil's and Jennifer's and others, if there's any follow-up that the committee, I should note that the committee will be taking to develop any other intervention suggestions. I saw the set of slides that LACBC created, and those look like a lot of promising ideas there as well. Thank you, Eli. So I just wanted should I note any follow-up that will be happening at the committee level regarding this?
Yeah, you should note that we're going to take that research document and start to share it. We'd like to bring it to the committee for feedback and a refinement, but the idea is to also then share it with council members and with folks who, with the city to make sure that those other concepts are being considered. So that is our next step. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the document that I was referring to, the slides that from LACBC?
Yep, that's the draft. And so once it's finalized, we'll share it with the rest of the committee at large. And then, maybe we'll create a motion out of the advocacy and education about imploring the city to think more long-term about a solution that's sustainable and doesn't necessarily, that's just a little bit more effective. Okay. Any other questions about advocacy and education as it stands? Thanks, Henny, for your report. Seeing none, let's move on to Kent and Jen on the Bikeways Engineering and Planning Subcommittee report. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you, Eli. And I guess I'll take this as usual with Jennifer's permission. So we had our meeting on the 19th of last month, and I want to point out that I always send the minutes and notes of those meetings. There's quite a bit of detail in them that it doesn't make sense to cover them here. I will go over the highlights and the motions that we developed, but just know that their minutes went out on that meeting. The primary topic that we spent a lot of time on was the 6th Street Viaduct Bikeway. And I have some notes from the report we got from the city that I'll share with you. Tim Framu gave us the reports. He's a high level, I'm not quite sure what his position is, but he's also an engineer at a pretty high level in the LADOT. He pointed out that the project was 10 years in the planning and 4 years in construction. It involved LABOE, Caltrans, the architects, and later LADOT was brought in. Caltrans was pretty much the overseer of the project along with BOE. But because there's federal money involved that Caltrans administers, they control the roadway design with some of the features that Michael mentioned earlier, having to do with the fact that the facility crosses over freeways, state highways. Because of that, the viaduct had to meet certain standards spelled out in the highway design manual, Caltrans highway design manual. And it was only later, as I mentioned, that LADOT was brought in to look over the bikeways plans, according to Tim. And at that point, they tried to extract as best facility as they could out of it. And the rubber rollover curbs and flex bollards were even required a change order. They were not initially even planned and cost about $1 million, I think he told us. DOT did, of course, prefer moving the barrier, but it was too late for that to be done. And at some point in the future, when the project is officially completed, it will be turned over to the city for to be under their control. At that point, some changes could be made how that will be affected by Caltrans regulations and the stipulations of the funding and the EIR is not known, but we're hopeful that the road geometry can be revised. And so we came up with a motion with recommendations on how the project can be revised to be more acceptable. And Michael, would you like to go over that since you were the primary drafter of it?
Sure. And I also want to point out, I learned today, Caltrans emphasized to me that the city could have asked for an exception to the highway design guidelines, and that that exception was, my understanding, was not asked for. So, you know, it's easy to blame Caltrans, but if you build highways all your life, you know, every nail looks like a hammer is the right solution. If you actually take multimodality seriously, which I believe LADOT does, but I'm not sure BOE does as much, then you can ask for an exception and recognize that permeable protected bike lanes aren't protected at all. So we might want to add something to that. Anyway, I'll pull it up. Can I get permission to screen share?
How do I do that again?
You can make me a co-host, probably.
Okay, see if that works.
Yep.
Thanks.
Do you want me to read this whole thing, Glenn? Kent?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. So it's a letter to Councilmember De Leon. Recently, the new 6th Street Viaduct opened. The stunning $600 million bridge is meant to be an iconic addition to the Los Angeles skyline, connecting Boyle Heights to the Arts District in downtown Los Angeles. Unfortunately, the bridge was completed with substandard and dangerous bike lanes. While the city created a thick concrete barrier separating moving cars from pedestrians, they put in a bike lane on the car side of the barrier and then proceeded to protect it with rubber curbing and flexible plastic bollards. Caltrans even required that the bike lane be permeable, so cars could use them as a shoulder when needed to the safety detriment of cyclists. Less than 2 weeks after the bridge opened, cars doing donuts and racing crashed into both sides of the bridge's bike lanes. If someone had been biking there, they would have been killed. Even worse, there's an unacceptable 300-foot gap on the Boyle Heights side with sharrows, which are useless for any sort of protection for people on bikes and will only attract the bravest of riders. Our request is simple: redesign this bridge's striping before someone gets seriously hurt or killed. People on bikes deserve to be just as protected as people on foot, yet the former have flimsy plastic bollards while the latter have a concrete wall. The traffic lanes are 12 feet wide and the bridge is designed like a highway, which also encourages speeding and street racing. We ask that one vehicle traffic lane in each direction be removed and that the center turn lane in the middle be widened. The center turn lane could then be used as a breakdown lane or a lane for emergency vehicles while negating the need for a shoulder. That would allow for the protection of the bike lanes with concrete curbs using Jersey barriers or other means, and also provide enough width to install true protected bike lanes in the 300-foot gap on the eastern approach. Please take action before someone is killed. A tragic loss of life and expensive wrongful death lawsuit should not be needed to have the bridge properly designed for all modes of transportation. I guess I'll go ahead and make the motion, Kent, unless there's anything else you want me to add.
No, go ahead. You've made the motion, but let's go on with discussion. I see Jennifer's hand is up.
I think that's a second, or we need a second if we're going to discuss it.
Jennifer, you're muted.
I did want to mention one thing, Michael.
Well, hold on. Sorry, guys, hold on. If we make a motion, we should have a second before we get it on the floor, and then we can discuss it.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Thank you.
I have ridden it a couple of times, and I have a new bike. It's an e-bike, and it's a little heavy. So if I wanted to get up on the sidewalk, I can't get there. I have to travel the whole bridge before. I might be able to lift it up, and I don't know, it's just like hard to get off of that bike lane if you need to.
I'm not sure I think we should try to fix the problem versus assume that people are going to be taking their bikes over the barrier on the bridge. That's just my,
Barrier, you mean the sidewalk barrier?
yeah. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I think we should try to fix the design versus, mess with the barrier. There is a mid-bridge gap that people can get in and out.
I couldn't find it.
It's right by the circular, I don't know what you call it, I guess,
Okay,
the pedestrian
okay.
bridge.
All right,
It's
I'll look
right-
again.
It's right by there. Most people when I was down there, I saw most people just using the pedestrian side to bike on.
Yeah. I mean, I did once, and then the other times I rode the bike lane and I said, how in the heck, if I want to get off of here, I have to get off. How am I going to do it?
Yeah,
It's really tough.
I agree with you, Jennifer. I saw the need for that myself. I mean, people are going to want to get closer to the view. I think it would be good for them to create additional openings so they can conveniently
That's all I mean.
get out of the
Yeah.
way. Yeah. Now, it doesn't have to be part of this motion, but I think we should put it in our back pocket and have
Okay.
a for it at some point.
If it's
All right.
important to you guys, we should include it in this motion. Who knows if the BAC is going to send another motion soon on
Yeah.
the 6th Street Bridge.
I would like to say that we could have a few more openings. That would be a solution. That's easy.
Add additional openings to allow easy access for cyclists to get to the sidewalk. Something like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm just trying to figure out where to put this so it's still succinct.
Yeah, maybe after that. That's good.
Michael, almost at the end of the paragraph, eastern approach, right?
Yeah.
Right, there you go. Sorry.
Thank you, Taylor.
About that.
For purposes of safety.
Is it safety though?
Well, whatever it is, you need a hook there.
Yeah, I agree. It's safety because if I wanted to get off, let's say if there are crazy people riding and I want to get the heck off the bike lane, cars are coming by and I can't go back out into traffic. I have to get the heck off of the bike lane. And yeah, for safety. Good.
Okay. Technically, this is an amendment, so I don't want to run this whole meeting, but someone should propose the amendment and second it. We should vote on the amendment, but maybe we'll see if there's any other amendments. But we
Let's
vote on
see if
this.
there's any. Yeah. Let's see if there's any other amendments. We can get all the work done. Is there anything else?
I see Philip's hand up.
I see Karen as well. Go ahead, Philip.
I'm a little bit perplexed by the way this is phrased, but I think it would be very helpful to me to see, some graphics showing what exactly we're talking about here. And if there's, you mentioned these cars doing donuts and so forth. Is there a video that shows that?
Yeah.
There is. I mean, if you guys want, I wrote this on Medium a week ago. It includes, so it includes a picture of the bike lanes, the problem with 300 feet, and then here's the video of the car. So, I mean, we can link to this if you guys want, but I think I could tell you that De Leon is very aware of the issues of this bridge by now. So I'm not sure it's needed.
Right, but in other words, when you put something in writing like this, you're not just writing to the person that you're sending it to, you're also writing it to the people who can support it.
Well,
I like the idea of linking it to your love letter. It's a good idea.
The bad romance.
Yes, bad romance.
I'm happy to do that if that's what you guys want to do.
I see a couple more hands up to Janice and Carino.
Well, if we're gonna link it, where do you guys want to link it? Do you want me to link it here? Encourages speeding and street racing?
That looks good.
Excellent, excellent.
Okay. Janice?
I don't know if you guys can see me because I have such a tiny screen here. All I can see is the screen share, but I just wanted to say, I don't know how serious this was, but somebody, one of us, I think, circulated, or I saw on a bike advocacy site that that there's been some discussion of suggesting that that whole bridge be closed to vehicular traffic, that it's already had to be closed like 4 or 5 times because of the speeding and donuts and all that sort of stuff going on. So I'm just wondering if we should also add to this, if they can't come up with if they can't agree to a redesign, that would be an alternative to protect the safety of all users.
De Leon introduced a motion a couple of days ago asking the city to study what the cost would be to shut down the bridge to cars on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I think asking for a full-time closure, which I personally would love, is a pretty heavy lift, just because the city doesn't normally spend over $500 million on a bridge just for cyclists and pedestrians.
Right.
So it's up to us, of course, but my gut is if we ask for too much, we'll be sort of laughed off the reservation as not serious.
Yeah, I'm not.
There's probably procedural hurdles having to do with the requirements of the funding and the EIR that would require amendments. So if it's feasible, there'd be a big process. So the city would have to really believe in it.
Thanks, Ken. Let's move on. Karen, I saw your hand up. Let's just make sure that we get balance here. So Karen, go for it. Thanks.
Thanks. I don't know if this should influence this motion or not, but I wanted to bring up, why is it that LA doesn't do things the way other cities do? So for example, Washington, DC just recently opened the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge that has this huge, beautiful, super wide pedestrian and bike area that's all separated from the car traffic. And they have lots of bridges that are done that way. And I'm wondering, isn't there some communication between planners for different cities that can see places that have done more with bike infrastructure, how they do it? Like, why doesn't, I don't know, how can we encourage more awareness of other ways of dealing with things like this? I mean, I would think that a big city like DC also has to deal with, highway rules and things like that.
We have a motion that Ken authored coming up soon that addresses that.
Okay.
The short version is this bridge was never intended to have protected bike lanes. They put painted bike lanes on the bridge. And then it was an afterthought to try to protect them. And it was a cluster, as you guys can see. But 10 years ago when this bridge was designed, it was not built into the design of the bridge. That's the problem.
Yeah, I agree, Karen. And wait till you hear the additional amendment that's going to come right after this and see if that covers your concerns.
Okay, let's move on. I see Carino's hand is raised.
Thanks, Eli. I am like, I think this whole thing kind of creates a can of worms as far as, who are the people who are showing up and at the bridge, because I've never seen anything like it where people are sort of gathering together because of a bridge and sort of doing these like TikTok videos and, sort of doing a selfie. And, you know, during the whole time that it's been open, there's wide a variety of people, you know, out of the woodworks, like people, a bicycle group shows up and, you know, takes pictures, and, you know, a group of scooters or other mobilities are in a group and joining together and meeting at the bridge at some sort of celebration, or I wouldn't say entitlement, but it kind of makes you think that that, you know, probably the citizens in LA are hungry for something new, something that is different than probably we're experiencing. Like, you know, I think the younger generations are gonna embrace bicycling more than, you know, than ever, because of the high cost of, you know, of everything, you know, inflation, or, but I like to see if this whole thing with the 6th Street could expand to even improve the bicycle infrastructure in the whole area, you know, to add that, you know, since this 6th Street has been somewhat a success, but a failure in execution. And I know that the 6th Street Bridge has brought a lot of attention worldwide. And one of the incidents is how deficient it was for bicyclists. And you're seeing, you know, how LA is so far behind as far as engineering for bicyclists, because you're seeing European cities are really changing their streets to be more pedestrian bicycle oriented, you know. And, you know, I think, you know, the mistakes that they've done with the lanes and everything, you know, I hope it opens their eyes, you know, because I think they're going to have to think about everybody besides just the bridge, you know.
Thanks, Karina. I just want to make sure that that there's not a specific note or revision that you want, because what we're trying to focus here is how to refine the draft of this motion that Michael's got it before
you know,
us.
I'm not too heavy in changing the
Okay.
wording. I'm just expressing, you know, my observation, because I do know Michael Moslin, and I did interview him. So and also Lewis McAdams about the 6th Street Bridge. So I do have a little background on it. But it's amazing, like how the citizens of LA kind of got together and doing some crazy stuff that you don't really see in much of around the world, like having a haircut in the middle of the street, you know, or I don't know. I mean, things can happen, you know.
Yeah, well, thank you for your comments, Karina. I think if you look at the screen, Michael did include this note that there's a unacceptable 300-foot gap on the Boyle Heights side, which talks about the larger missed opportunity in terms of creating connective infrastructure to and from the bridge. So I do think it's included there, but thank you for your point. Janice, I see your hand is raised again, so I want to make sure I give you the chance to.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify what I've said before, and then since then, as I was listening to Corino, I thought of potentially a way to phrase this better. So what I was suggesting is not an either or, but and you know, in terms of this complete closure. So maybe what we do is suggest that until such time as the bridge can be redesigned for safety for cyclists as well as pedestrians, that it be closed to vehicular traffic. So that's my comment.
I think if we ask for that, the letter's more likely to be dismissed. It's just not a serious solution. That's just my reaction. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts. As much as I would love it. Everyone's quiet.
I think Janice's point is great, but I also agree with Michael, and I think we should vote on the amendment as listed. And I'd like to designate Michael to vote for CD5 since it's his motion.
Oh, so do we have a, now that we've made these adjustments, do we have a, has someone made the motion? Is the motion made?
Well, so we need to make a motion to amend. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we amend the letter based on the changes we made. Is there a second?
You have a second from Jennifer. I see your hand raised.
Okay. So Taylor, it's fine, man. You can vote. It's not a big deal. Well, Eli, I don't want to do your role for you, but I would, if this was the neighborhood council, I would just say, are there any no's or abstentions? And then I would carry on with voting with the motion as amended. You're on mute.
Thanks. Yeah, let's keep it going. So let's now that we have a second, let's move to a vote. Sorry, Glenn, go ahead.
I just want to be sure that you've called for public, since this is the item we're voting on, want to make sure you've called for any public comment for non-committee members. At some point, yeah.
Is there any public comment? Raise your hand. Lionel, go ahead.
Is this regarding the 6th Street Viaduct Bridge, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good idea. I support your thoughts on this. So yeah, that's my comment. I would like to see, they should have done a better job when they constructed the bridge, putting the barrier between the motorists and the bicyclists and pedestrians. Instead they had it reversed. So I was there, so I saw that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Are there any no's or abstentions on the amendments? Raise your hand. Okay, so now we have an amended motion. Someone's taking minutes, right?
Yeah.
I want to be.
Yep. Kent is. Yep.
So Ken, Taylor can be the voting party, so don't count me.
All right.
Are there any no's or abstentions?
Sorry. Just procedurally, who made the motion?
Michael.
It was Michael and Jennifer second.
Yes.
Okay, so if Taylor's, okay, it needs to be consistent, right?
Glenn's right. Taylor, can I vote just to make it easy? Okay. Thanks, Glenn. Are there any no's or abstentions on the motion as amended? Raise your hand. Okay. So it passes unanimously. And just to be really clear, Ken, mark me down as the vote for CD5, not Taylor, so we're not both counted.
Duly noted.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay.
guys. Get this off.
Thank you, Michael, for drafting that. Okay. Now we're moving on to the additional motion under this same item relative to the 6th Street Viaduct. And I would like to bring up the motion that I have created, which speaks to the planning process that Karen was alluding to. So Eli, if you can make me a co-host so I can share my screen.
You should be able to do it now. Let me know if you can't.
Okay. Ooh. Let's see if this is it. Sorry, I didn't realize I have to enable
my new computer to allow.
I can
Zoom.
share it if you'd like.
Oh, you got
Or-
it?
Yep, I
Yeah,
have it up.
it would be easier if you would do that. Thank you. And I'll then go over it, read it. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, do you see it?
Yes, I do. Okay, I'll just read it and you all can read along. This is motion regarding the design process for major projects that include bikeways. The omission of a truly protected bikeway in the design of the recently completed 6th Street Viaduct represents a failure of the process for conceiving large transportation projects in our city. For a project of this magnitude, built from the ground up at a time when our city has been acutely aware of the need for prioritizing cycling as an integral part of our city's mobility plan 2035, and having adopted a Vision Zero goal and in consideration of Caltrans Complete Streets guidelines, it should have been unacceptable to omit a state-of-the-art bikeway in this project. While the bikeway included in the 6th Street Viaduct is a cut above typical bike lanes, the limited protection it offers is insufficient to provide the truly secure cycling environment needed to allow people of all ages and abilities, including families and young children and the elderly, to comfortably and confidently choose to bike on this facility. Further, the city knows that transportation-related emissions represent our city's largest contribution to greenhouse gases to the atmosphere at a time when the impacts of global warming have been well known and are worsening. In response, the city has adopted ambitious goals for the reduction of driving to reduce carbon emissions, conserve energy, relieve congestion, and help us meet other urgent goals. The potential of bikeway networks to serve as a major transportation resource. Sorry, it's jumping around. A transportation resource that can help us meet these goals has been amply demonstrated in cities all over the world and have experienced dramatic increases in cycling as a result of implementing well-designed bikeway networks. They have also shown that the implementation of such bikeway networks can be achieved far more rapidly and cost effectively than the creation of costly high-capacity transportation facilities that take decades to plan and build. Bikeways have a vital role to play in our city's well-being, and we are simply throwing away an incredibly valuable resource when we don't make them an integral part of our transportation and sustainability planning. Over 30 years ago, the city created the Bicycle Advisory Committee. Actually, I believe that's over 40 years ago, so that can be altered, expressly to provide input to the city that could have prevented the outcome that we are drawing your attention to. Yet the LABAC was not included in the 6th Street Viaduct project's design process at the key stages where its input was needed. The urgency of the climate crisis and the need for safe, equitable, cost-effective mobility options demands that Los Angeles not repeat the errors of omission demonstrated in the 6th Street Viaduct's design process in future projects, including the redesign of the Glendale Hyperion Bridge. Therefore, we, the members of the City of Los Angeles Bicycle Advisory Committee, call on the mayor of the city council and all relevant department heads to assure that the Bicycle Advisory Committee be included in the development of all major projects where bikeways could be included at the earliest conceptual design, scoping, and preliminary budget stages, so it is able to fulfill its mission and help the city avoid mistakes like this in the future. To this end, the BAC asks that the city implement the needed procedural protocols, ordinances, and other changes needed to assure the early, well-informed, and meaningful integration of the BAC's input in major projects that include bikeways going forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
I probably shouldn't do that because it's going to cause an issue with Taylor voting. Someone else seconded.
I second it. It's Carino.
Okay. Any discussion, comments, suggestions? Taylor.
I think it's wonderful. Ken, my only addition might be when at the very bottom, when you talk about the procedural changes that would be needed to include the BAC. Is it advantageous for us to name some of those? Because I'm not even sure what they would be.
Yeah, I didn't really want to go there.
Okay.
Unless someone knows of any, because that's getting kind of into the weeds of bureaucracy.
Okay, my only thinking was if there was one step that it was easily recognizable, that it might be worth putting there. Otherwise, I'm totally fine with how it is.
Okay, well, I think that is generally what we're asking for. And if we come up with specifics, we could maybe push for those separately.
At a later date.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
Glenn, I see that. Oh, sorry. I see that Glenn's hand is raised. Go ahead, Glenn.
Thank you. I do understand this sentiment is prompted by what happened on the 6th Street Bridge, but I don't think that the overall subject matter is on our agenda for tonight. And so I know, again, it was prompted by that experience, but the actual, therefore, policy item is not on our agenda. So I would recommend that this be agendized, added to the agenda, and be considered at our next BAC meeting. And if you wanted to take it back to subcommittee, or not take it back, to have it vetted just for any edits in the subcommittee, you could do that. But I'm not comfortable voting on this because it's not on our agenda.
Glenn, it seems to me we have introduced motions that contain the subject matter that has been agendized in the past. And so I'd like to suggest that we do take it up tonight. I think it pairs well with the other motion, and I think there's an urgency to it.
Okay, again, I acknowledge that it was prompted by that incident, but you're talking about an overall policy that goes far beyond anything that is on our agenda. The other times we have a motion, it's related more directly to the actual item that's on the agenda. And frankly, I don't see the city starting a new bridge or similar project, necessarily in between now and our next meeting.
That's not true. The city has finalized plans for the Glendale Hyperion Bridge. They have unprotected bike lanes.
I stand corrected. It still does not justify taking action on something that's not on our agenda. And those of you involved with neighborhood councils know that. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna
can I just finish 10 seconds that sentence because it's relevant?
Sure, go ahead.
The city is passing the point of no return with Caltrans by October. So given we only meet every 2 months, it's sort of in the danger zone. That doesn't mean we should violate the Brown Act or do something against the Brown Act, but I'm just letting everyone know that there is time sensitivity here. I don't know if a letter could make a difference, but we should try.
Thanks, Michael. I see 2 other hands raised. Make sure that we hear from all of our members, and then I think we'll see where we stand. So I think I saw actually Jennifer's hand first. So Jennifer, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Eli. Yes, I would like for Curtis and Karen to look it over, for language, because I find it a little bit long. And I did discuss that with Kent earlier. And that way, if we pass the concept today, could Curtis and Karen edit it a bit? And Michael, maybe.
Yeah, Michael has made suggestions. I'm certainly open to suggestions.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'm just going to move over to, I guess I saw Philip next. Go ahead, Philip. Oh, Philip just disappeared. So Carino, are you ready to share?
Sure. I mean, if it's an issue about, not being an agenda, it's a good possibility you could do a special meeting on this one item. I think it's important, because I do think that DOT needs to be more transparent in how they lay out their lanes before they do it. And I would like to say, like, toward the end of that paragraph, to have a meaningful integration of BAC's input, but also the community's input as well. We're also are gonna, utilize whatever area or street or road that they're being affected. So I think transparency is good, and also community input, because I don't know if anybody knows, there's a bicycle advocacy board in LA, so that's all I got to say. I yield back.
Thanks, Carino. Karen, I see you.
I just wanted to follow on what Carino just brought up. I don't know, and Glenn, I don't know exactly what the constraints of the Brown Act are. I get the idea that you can't put something on the agenda that nobody knew about was going to be voted on. But this one seems like it's kind of a, hey, duh, this is exactly why the city has a bicycle advisory committee, and the city's forgetting that. And it seems, I don't know if it requires a special meeting or what, but if this is something that directly relates to another bridge that the window's closing on, maybe we need to call attention to that more explicitly and have a special vote on it. Otherwise, I feel like the way the letter reads right now, it's just saying, hey, hello, we're here. Don't forget that you're supposed to be getting input from us on these kinds of things. I don't know why, that would be a surprise issue raised on an agenda that nobody knew about when it's fundamental to what we do.
Well, I certainly agree. Seems germane to me and relevant. I don't think anybody would be surprised by that who would be looking at our agendas.
Curtis has his hand raised.
Curtis, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I really, Karen pretty much said what was on my mind. As to timing, it's better to be criticized for doing something too soon than to do it too late. This is the hot topic right now. If we wait, we're just going to miss the boat, and we're not doing our jobs. I'm ready to vote now. And if you want me to wordsmith it afterwards with Karen and Michael, I'm willing to do it, but only if the three of us are given the permission to make our changes and send it in.
We can't vote. We can't vote and then make changes.
Okay, fine. I'm ready to vote on it now. The timing is now.
Okay, so now that we've heard from both Karen and Curtis, our two legal expert or legal eagles, I'll just put it to you that way. Hearing Glenn's concerns and maybe the concerns of others, I think we should move forward. That's my take on this as well. And so, is there any other conversation or dialogue that folks want to bring forth before we move to the next step?
We should call for public comment.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any public comment? I just see that Lionel just signed off. Is there any other public comment? I don't know if anyone from the public is left. Oh, maybe call-in user 1.
Or Kevin.
Oh, Kevin's still here. Hi, Kevin. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none. Let's see if we have a motion. Does someone want to make a motion?
Yeah, I already made the motion, and let's see. Do we have a second? I think
Carino seconded it.
That's what Carino did.
Okay,
so let's call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand or signify. John Lau, are you voting on this? John Lowy?
I'm voting in favor of it.
Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And Glenn, are you voting against or abstaining?
Put me down as not voting at all for the reasons I stated.
Okay.
And then Carino.
I see Carino's voted.
Oh, he voted with his hand. Got it. Okay. Oh, it looks like Philip is trying to get back in again. Hold on a second. Okay, so what's the count? Sorry, go ahead.
11-0-1 abstention.
Well, actually, Glenn said he's not voting at all, so I don't know how we note that.
Well, is there a reason that can't be an abstention? I don't know what not voting at all means if you're here.
Because I don't think it's a legitimate, I don't think it's a proper item to be voting on, so I don't want to abstain. That's a vote. So that's why I said I just don't want to participate in this at all.
Okay, so 11-0-0, Eli.
Okay. So it passes.
And I'll make note of that, Glenn.
Yeah, please make note in the minutes. Okay, thanks. We need to keep on moving. I'm getting some notes from folks saying we need to keep moving. So let us continue to move.
All right.
Please continue, Kent.
Sure. So the next item that we covered at the Planning and Bikeway Subcommittee was the Expo Northvale Gap, where we were inquiring about the plans for access points and a general update. An update was provided to us. And that was included in the minutes from the meeting. In the interest of time, I will allow you all to read those later. Just to summarize, there are a number of access points that were designated along North Vale Drive. Are there any other observations from committee members that they'd like to bring to our attention? Okay. Then moving on to the Vision Zero implementation update that I think was Phil requested.
You don't want to vote on that motion?
Oh, yeah, I thought the motion was moot because we had received that. I'm sorry, jumping ahead to myself here. We had subsequent to the motion received the report that the motion was requesting. So that's already in our hands. So it seems as though the motion is moot at this point.
Got it.
Yeah, so moving on to the Vision Zero implementation that Phil had asked for updates on. The Vision Zero implementation strategy 2022 was provided to us by Matt, and that is also linked to in our meeting minutes. So we got a response on that. And this brings us to the Griffith Park Bikeway, where we have another motion that builds on our previous motion requesting that the city address safety issues for cyclists in the park. And so there is a motion that was created, and Eli or anybody have that handy from the Google Doc?
I don't know if I have that one. Do you have it?
Yeah, it's. Ooh. Well, let's see. Let me send it to you.
Yeah, it's probably the best bet because your system's not quite up to speed. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Email or, yeah, email's all I got for you. Apologies for not having this worked out in advance. Just sent that to you, Eli.
Great.
And in the interest of time, Eli, if you're willing to do it, we don't actually have to read the motions. We can just put them on the screen, or yeah, we can put them on the screen.
This one's pretty quick. I'll just go ahead right now and start reading the main points, which are the new recommendations that we'd like to make to the city. 1, make the closure of Griffith Park Drive permanent. 2, implement a pilot closure of Upper Crystal Springs Drive from Los Feliz Boulevard to the merry-go-round parking areas, designating it for non-motorized use and parked vehicles only. And 3, implement a pilot closure of the segment of Crystal Springs Drive from Western Heritage Way to Griffith Park Drive, permitting only horses, golf carts, and bikes to pass through the closure points, as well as park-approved vehicles such as shuttles, maintenance vehicles, etc. So that's the gist of the motion, the additional recommendations that we have for the city and the park, and it would be directed to the park, LADOT, CD4, and other city leaders and staff.
Michael, I see your hand is raised.
2 things: we should get rid of Seleta Reynolds, she's gone, and put Connie Yanos in her place.
Okay.
And then in number 2, I would like to not say non-motorized use because I don't want to exclude e-bikes. So maybe we could simply say designating it for people walking, on bikes, and park vehicles or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, hold on, let me make those changes.
While Kent is making those changes, I'm going to keep moving. Is that okay, Kent? So
yeah.
we can you multitask? Okay, great. So Karina, I see your hand is up. Karina, are you there?
Sorry, muted. On item 3, can you add like permitting only horses, golf carts, bikes, and maybe hikers as well?
Exactly.
Yeah. Sure. I'll call them pedestrians. And Michael, where was that designation that you wanted to change? Was that, can I just cut and paste those same permitted uses into point 2? Does that solve your concern?
I think so. Just get rid of, I just don't want to say non-motorized use.
Okay. Huh.
Why don't we just copy this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm making the motion, waiting for a second.
I'll second.
Who's that?
Eli.
Eli. Okay, thank you, Eli.
Taylor, I see your hand is up.
Wait, do we want to add hikers? Did someone say that?
I said pedestrians. We did pedestrians, Michael.
Pedestrians. Okay, cool.
Go ahead, Taylor.
My only concern was on number 2, when we talk about the closure of Upper Crystal Springs Drive, do we need to add making the lower Crystal Springs Drive 2-way? Or is that just sort of implied that that's how that traffic would be handled?
We could clarify it.
I don't know that it's necessary. I don't want people thinking that, oh, how are we gonna be able to access the park in a car if that is closed off? I just didn't know if that was necessary or not. Implement a pilot closure of Upper Crystal Springs Drive from Los Feliz Boulevard to the merry-go-round, making Lower Crystal Springs Drive two-way.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Any other comments or notes as we continue to refine? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept these? Oh, sorry, you're still working. I'll wait.
I think that does it.
Does that work for you, Taylor? The adjustment that Kent, there's two periods there, Kent, but does that basically cover it for you? Does that work for you,
Yes.
Taylor?
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so do we have a motion to accept the revisions? I guess that's the language, right?
Oh, well, I accept them as friendly.
I'll
Great,
second
so-
that.
Okay, Glenn, I see your hand just came up. Go ahead, Glenn.
You could also perhaps expedite things and just ask, are there any objections to the changes?
Right,
If there's no objections, then you don't have to have a motion and vote on.
Got it. Thank you. Are there any objections to the revisions? Thanks, Glenn. Hearing none, let's move to the vote. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes. Who seconded it?
I will.
I believe I did initially, but sure, let's.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
okay,
right.
Eli.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that's right. Sorry, Eli did.
No worries. I'm going to stop the share now.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's move to the vote. First of all, are there any objections or abstentions? Maybe we can do it faster that way.
Yeah, there you go.
Any objections or abstentions? Seeing none, it looks like it's passing unanimously. It has passed. Kent, do you have that for the record duly noted?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
13.
13. Okay,
Great.
got it.
And I know that that this letter is being requested to be sent out as soon as it's ready to go. So Kent, when you feel like it's buttoned up, can you package and send it to me? Because we need to get it to some other partners ASAP.
Yeah, will do.
Okay, thanks. I'll look for that. Anything else on this before we move on? Okay, great. Well, look, it's only 8:30, and we are coming to the last quarter. So I'm going to see if we can move with purpose. Just as a heads up, the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 20th. A reminder that our start time is now 6:30, so we're not here quite so late. So please remember that and mark that in your calendars. You have been sent a calendar invite, so you should be able to see it there as well. I'm going to keep my updates really quick. LACBC has been working on a number of different things. As mentioned, we're building we're doing some research on other alternatives to this bike repair ordinance that was passed coming out of CD15 by Buscaino to figure out if there's a better infrastructure solution to basically making sure that bikes are not as easily stolen, and also to make sure that we're not unintentionally targeting underhoused people. We're also hosting a bike match event. We're going to be giving out 132 bikes at the center in Hollywood on Friday and on the 5th. These bikes came to us from Wheels to Africa. They could no longer afford to ship the bikes to Africa because the price of fuel, of oil. So the shipping prices went through the roof and they had to fold. So we've taken those bikes and we're going to be giving them out to our bike match wait list, and also, again, people who are underhoused who need access to running bikes. And the final thing is we've been working with Safe and Streets for All on a number of things, including the 6th Street Viaduct, where we're trying to coordinate a response, a broader response to just the debacle that is that bridge at this point. And so we're working together with those two partner organizations on that, and also the Griffith Park work. It's very much appreciated. I know that Damien came and spoke to the planning committee, Damien Kevitt from SAFE, and has been is pushing hard to make sure that CD4 has the support they need to continue to have the political courage to cut down or reduce cut through traffic. So we've been a part of those conversations as well. I think I'm going to keep it quick because we're running out of time, so I'll leave it at that, and I will hand it over to Michael.
Thanks, Eli. I will also make it quick because I know it's getting late and I'm also fading. So since we last met, we turned in over 100,000 signatures for Healthy Streets LA. We are expecting the city clerk to certify us this coming Monday, and then it will go to city council. City council will have 20 days to either vote to adopt it as an ordinance or vote to send it to the ballot. We have been working really hard to make sure they vote to adopt it as an ordinance. It is an uphill battle, and we've had some friction from other organizations, which has been frustrating, but I'm still hopeful. We have produced a very glossy, beautiful report that's customized to each council district office that shows not only the fatalities and deaths and other things in their district since it was adopted. And actually, I'm just going to very, very quickly show one of these pages to you guys because I think it's worth showing. So this is the one for CD13. This is the mobility plan implementation, both planned and implemented. You can see 0.9% has been implemented in CD13. This is a map that shows all of the injuries and fatalities since 2015. The mobility plan was passed in CD13. And my favorite map is this one. This shows every person that signed our petition in CD13. And again, we're doing this for each council district. Fun fact, we actually got more people to sign Healthy Streets LA in CD13 than Mitchell Farrell got votes in the primary. So anyway, we're sending these hopefully very compelling things, and we have 40 neighborhood councils in support. We have 30 organizations and a ton of press, and hoping that it moves the needle and the result isn't pre-baked. So that's that. And if you're on the Streets for All email list, you will hear when we'd love for you to show up at City Hall. Needs to be in person because you can no longer remote comment, and ask for them to adopt. On the election side, we endorsed 3 candidates in the primaries that won outright. Another 8 are headed for runoffs. Hilda Solis, Laura Friedman, and Aaron Najarian, who's now the Metro Board Chair, all won. And then a bunch headed to runoff. We're going to be endorsing soon in CD5 because both of our candidates did not make the runoff. So we're going to be re-endorsing in that race. We, out of the 20 bills that we're sponsoring, 15 of them are still alive at the state legislature, including SB 932, which requires cities to map their high injury networks and implement road safety provisions throughout California. So we'll see what happens there. Venice Boulevard is so exciting. So we started Venice Boulevard for All in 2019. And good things sometimes take time, but if all goes well, we will have protected bike lanes from La Cienega to Lincoln Boulevard, which is a huge stretch that will be implemented this year. La Cienega and National are going in next week. So this is moving very quickly. It also includes some dedicated bus lanes, which is exciting. And stretch goal, we might even be able to extend it eastward to Fairfax, which would be great. But anyway, La Cienega to Lincoln is a huge, huge stretch. And another fun fact, AB 43, which was Laura Friedman's bill that helps allowed cities to reduce speed limits, which passed last year, that the city of LA is now implementing, enabled the city of Los Angeles to put in protected bike lanes on Venice Boulevard just by narrowing things. It made the engineers comfortable enough to narrow the travel lanes since the speed was lower, going from 40 to 35 miles per hour, which allowed them to put in protected bike lanes without removing a lane of car traffic and avoiding the fights like we've seen on other stretches of that street. So that's pretty exciting. That's about it. So stay tuned for Healthy Streets LA, which is the main thing we're focused on this month.
Wow.
Michael,
That,
Michael, what about our end? Arlington, we have narrower streets. We need to get that in.
So the city this is keying off the repaving schedule. That section is not up for repaving right now.
Oh,
I would also highly suggest, that you wait to push on that until Eunesis is in office in December.
yeah, I will.
Because don't
I
think
just,
the
that's the
current-
first okay, I will. You let me know, okay?
Anytime after December 12th, I would suggest.
Oh, okay, all right.
Michael, those tailored reports for each CD are awesome. You guys are really raising the bar on advocacy. That's so powerful.
Thank you, Kent.
Okay, thanks, Michael. So it looks like these are the bicycle related council files that are up to date. Thanks, Rob, even though he's not here, for making sure that what's current is here for your reference. I guess we have a few more minutes. We'll move with 13, which is BAC member and officer reports. Anyone want to share work that they've been able to push forward as committee members in their district? This is your chance to share out with the group. Go ahead, Taylor.
I'd like to mention Kevin Burton and Safer Willoughby have been working to transform Willoughby east-west from Fairfax to La Brea. If you have the opportunity, if you're in West Hollywood, to ride it, and then there's signs where there are some implementations of traffic safety infrastructure. They have a code. You can go to the code on your phone and leave a comment about how you like it. These are just pilots right now, but they are very open to positive feedback, and they're getting some negative feedback also. But anything you all can do to further the cause would be helpful. Thank you very much.
Other reports from committee members in their local districts.
I got one, but I wouldn't say it's about my district. Any of you know that I've been working on a documentary for 12 years, and I'm finally finished with it. So I'm actually doing a private screening that everybody's welcome to show up. It's going to be at the Lemley Theater on the 20th of August. And it's also going to be on the 21st, which I think it's also Ciclavia, and that's going to be on McLeod's Brewery, like right around 4 or 5. But I've been working on this for a long time, and I've interviewed, I mentioned before, Louis McAdams and Michael Moslin, but also Ken Bernstein and Joe Lydon. Talked about Ciclavia and sort of the LA River, but it's kind of a long journey for me, and I'm kind of happy I'm pretty done with it, just because you know, the last couple of years has been pretty hard to get things done. But I'm gonna send Jennifer my email. And if anybody wants to attend it, I'll give my email to them, and you could tell me how many people are you going to bring, so I could get a good number, so I could let Lemley know.
Thanks,
Carino, could you, I think Henriette has a,
Yep.
are you on that list on
What?
Carino? Are you on Henriette's,
Hello?
I'm listening. Carino, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, Henriette can put you in the group email and you could send it to everybody.
That's fine.
Okay, are
No,
you
I can
on?
do that. No, I mean, if you don't want to,
I want to go.
okay.
Which Lemley is it?
It's the one in
Let's,
NoHo.
NoHo, okay.
Sorry to interject. I want to, and sort of out of respect for folks' time, I want to kind of keep things moving. Carino, we covered earlier that you can add your name, your email to the committee email list. I think that probably is the best way to spread the word about your film. Congratulations on getting it done.
Well, I'm gonna invite a lot of people. Hopefully people will show up, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of relevant what's going on right now, but I can't really say. I've been working for so long, so I kind of feel, good about that I finished something.
Yeah, it's awesome. You can send it to me. It's fine. I just thought, it'd be more expedient to do it the other way.
No, it's just that, the reason why I took some time off is because I wanted to finish it off. And that's why I kind of like delegated myself to finish it up, and then I could share it with everybody what.
Yeah, we want to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
congrats.
You'll get the notice soon.
Okay.
Great. Congrats, Carino.
Thank
you. Okay. Any other reports from other BAC members? I'm going to sort of keep it going. Seeing and hearing none.
I've got my hand up.
Sorry. Go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah, kudos, Carino. I just wanted, since our last BAC meeting, the Metro has announced their re-envisioning, these are my words, of the North San Fernando Valley BRT project, which originally was designed to serve Cal State Northridge primarily and the neighborhoods from the North Valley. And based on the feedback they got during the past few years, they're moving it to a totally different type of a concept. So it's on their webpage. So if you go to Metro and look up the North Valley Transit Project, the only reason I'm mentioning it, well, just in general, so you're aware, because it was announced in June, is they are spreading the $180 million out from just the, a single line option to putting upgrades in a multiple of lines from Ventura Boulevard on the south all the way north to Nordhoff, and lots of lines in between. That's east-west, and then some north-south as well, including Reseda Boulevard and some others. The reason I'm mentioning this as being relevant for cyclists is some of the upgrades, most of the money is going into electrification of the buses, but there's also a substantial money going into bus shelters, bulb outs, and that sort of thing. And one of the things that was sort of concern to me is that they appear to be taking right-hand lanes, and right now that would affect cyclists, even if there's no bicycle lane in those lanes. So I've expressed that concern to Metro, and I'm not aware of any existing bike lanes that be impacted, but it might impact things that are on the mobility plan. I'm not sure. I don't have the whole thing memorized, especially with Roscoe Boulevard and Nordhoff Street. So anyway, you might want to take a look at their webpage dealing with that project. And if I see anything that looks like there's a direct connection for bicycling facilities or options to improve, I'll let folks know. We went through this with Metro on the East Valley Transportation Project, where we were trying to get accommodation on Van Nuys Boulevard, and Metro was not receptive to that. So I'm not going to hold my breath, but I wanted you all to be aware. Thanks.
Thanks, Glenn. Can you add that if you want to put the website that you just referenced in the chat? That might be helpful if folks want to check that out. I see Janice.
I'm not going to be able to do that because I'm now driving.
Oh, got it. Okay, thanks. Janice.
Yeah, just quickly, two things. One that you and I have already communicated about. Just wanted everybody to know that I will be contacting my council member's office, that's CD3, Bob Blumenfield, about his next community bike ride. He had been before the pandemic in the habit of having one at least every year, but that's been curtailed, and we're hopeful that the pandemic has eased up enough that we'll be able to have one sometime later this fall. So hopefully by next meeting, we'll have some more information on that. And then the second thing, Eli, I apologize, but I've had a little glitch with my email today, communication between my little iPhone and my server. So if you sent out information about our next meeting, I think you said that something about September 20th. I didn't get that. That was today. I didn't
Oh
see
yeah,
that.
no, it's in the minutes. Our next meeting is Tuesday, September 20th, I believe.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that you had sent something out earlier.
Oh, no,
No
just that's, yep.
Okay.
That's the subcommittee meeting that, our next BAC is.
That's the next subcommittee, sorry, for bikeways and engineering, right? Sorry.
Oh,
Listed as-
okay.
So
I thought maybe you
our-
were changing this.
no.
meeting to-
No. This meeting is the invite remains as is. Yeah. Thanks
you.
for pointing that out. That's a bit confusing. Sorry about that. And then I saw one other hand raised. Was it Jennifer or did you lower your hand? Or was it Karen? I'm sorry. I saw a hand raised.
I lowered it.
Okay, I wasn't making it up.
I'm
Just
gonna
making sure I'm
put it
not
on-
going crazy.
Well, no, I'm going crazy, but I wanted to talk about Facebook, but I'm going to agendize it for the next, for maybe advocacy and education.
I think that's a good idea. Let's make sure we send a note to Rob and Henny to add that to the agenda for that committee.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, moving on. Any others? I'm just going to do a final check. I don't see any hands raised, so let's keep going. I guess as I mentioned, there's going to be a bike match bonanza happening on Friday this week, but I already talked about that. Generally, in the tradition of this committee, we usually adjourn in the memory of a victim to traffic violence. In this case, I just identified this gentleman, Dak Fem Q. He was a victim, a 73-year-old Fountain Valley resident, was riding his bike in the crosswalk at Garfield and Brookhurst Street on the border with Huntington Beach when he was hit by a driver of a massive Ford pickup truck around 7 o'clock in the morning. He was taken to the nearby hospital where he died of his injuries. So in memory of Dak, just we'll close this meeting. Here's this announcement, Janice. Sorry, our next meeting is for Tuesday, October 4th. At the bottom of our agenda here, 2022, remembering that we will be doing those meetings at 6:30 as our start time. Okay, is there anything else before we adjourn? Excellent. This was a little long. We're over by 16 minutes or so, but I really appreciate everyone's patience and staying with it. And we'll see you in committee. Also,
I
Kent,
want to say that we didn't go over. People didn't get here on time.
Okay, Jen, good point. Kent, if you could just make sure you send me the Griffith Park thing as soon as you can, get it wrapped. I will make sure it gets forwarded to Damien and Michael and others so we can just keep pushing. Okay, anything else? Do we have to vote to adjourn? No, okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Eli.
Good night. Good night.